Here is another one you may remember. A registered nurse ruins her 22-year marriage. I would have never guessed before narrating stories that nurses were this bad. I am 50 and my wife is 51. We got married when I was 28 years old. She was attending the University of Florida when we met. She was going after a Bachelor's of Science degree. She wanted to become a nurse, and her ultimate goal was to become a nurse practitioner. I didn't finish college. I had always aspired to have my own business, and I did just that, starting my own marketing firm, which did well within the first year. We continued dating after she finished college, but didn't tie the knot until 6 years later. I helped her pay for nursing school, a few online nursing programs, a nurse practitioner program, any kind of nursing education to help her. I helped her pay for it. I haven't narrated a story that when a man helps his wife advance in her career, the relationship didn't survive. Weird. My marketing firm really took off after the second year. We didn't live together. She was still living at home, and so was I. But after my business took off, I bought a house in Jacksonville, Florida, where I currently live. I always trusted my wife. She didn't give me a reason not to trust her. Once she completed nursing school, she started working at the hospital. She had the 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. shift to start, and then switched to the 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. shift after about 6 months. This scheduling of hers went on for about a year. Then she switched back to the morning shift. We did not have kids. We put off having kids until we got a better handle on our finances, which we did, but the topic of having kids never came up again. We had a routine, sort of. I would make dinner when she worked, and when she was off, she would make dinner. Everything was smooth in the beginning. It always is. We traveled together, had date nights. Every time we had a disagreement, I made sure we didn't go to bed mad at each other, something I learned from my parents. Sometimes she would go hang out with some friends after work. I didn't mind that because I had a circle of friends I would hang out with sometimes. Well, one night she sent me a text saying she was going to hang out with a few of her coworkers after her shift. She said she would be home around 9 p.m. I told her to have fun. Well, she didn't get home until almost 4 in the morning. I confronted her. Good on him. And I told her I didn't appreciate that. We got into a huge fight, and it was physical. Oh, that's not a good thing. I didn't hit her. I pushed her. She called the cops on me. When the police got to our house, she told them I hit her. I told the cops she was lying. They checked her over and couldn't find any bruises. They asked me if I had anywhere to go. I told them I did. So I left the house that night and stayed with my parents for a few days. When I got back to the house, it was strange. She was all over me. We made up like nothing happened. If it was me, I don't know if I would have slept with her knowing that she lied on me in front of the police. I wouldn't take that chance. I thought everything was going to be okay. We talked about what happened. She apologized for coming home so late that morning. She claimed to have lost track of time. Yeah, I bet. I forgave her. By this time, we were at the 10-year mark in our marriage. That was the biggest fight we ever had. So, as time goes on, I notice she starts going out more after work and coming home in different outfits, not the scrubs she left for work. Even when she went out with her friends in the past and went out after work, she came home in scrubs. The old me would have confronted her and asked her why she was coming home in these nice outfits, but I didn't. The last time I confronted her, I got physical and she called the law on me. Our time together also took a hit. Our date nights started to dwindle, and sex wasn't as frequent as they used to be. Well, if you're not having sex, there's a change in the relationship. That's why the intimacy has fallen off. Well, one day when I got home from my office, I left work a little early. As I was walking up to my door, the mailman came up to me and had me sign for a certified letter. No biggie. I have signed for certified letters before, but this letter had my handwritten name on it. That's interesting. When I opened it, this letter dropped a bombshell. This woman told me in the letter that my wife was cheating on me with her husband, and her husband doesn't know. She knows. Sometimes you may find out that your partner is cheating on you from an unlikely source, as in this case. As soon as I saw her phone number in the letter, I called her. When she answered, I told her I got her letter. She immediately told me how she found out her husband was cheating on her. This woman told me she got a flyer in the mail from Victoria's Secret, and in the 16 years they have been married, her husband has never gotten her anything from Victoria's Secret. That is really odd that a man that's been married that long that has never gotten his wife anything from a store that's predominantly for women. Interesting. She immediately knew something wasn't right. So what she did was took a few days off from work and told her husband she was going to visit her parents who live in Pensacola, Florida. But she never went to visit her parents. She and a friend of hers rented a car and followed her husband around. She even told me they followed her husband to my place one night. Apparently, her husband followed my wife back to our place and they kissed right before she walked in. And she even gave me the time and date. I couldn't believe it. I was home that night. She kissed another man right outside our home while I was inside. That's crazy. This woman didn't care about her husband. She was cheating right at their front door. She had some balls. I then asked her, does she have proof of all this? I also asked her, how did she know she was married? She indicated she looked at the real estate records online here in Duval County. I then asked her, why didn't she confront him? She said she wanted revenge and was going to bury him financially. She asked for my email address and said she would send a Google Drive link to me. Within the hour, she sent me the link, and there it was. Pictures of them holding hands, kissing, even being intimate in their home. She said once she got wind of the Victoria's Secret flyer, she set up hidden cameras in her home. I was blown away at what I saw. I just stared at the computer screen. I really didn't know what to do. I was still in shock. About an hour later, my wife shows up and she is crying. You know what? I didn't even console her. I started getting angry and left the house. I walked right past her while she was crying. I drove around for an hour trying to gather my thoughts and decided I needed to talk to a lawyer. I wasn't going to talk to any of our friends. They probably would tell her I knew she was cheating. When I got back home, my wife was in the bathroom with the door closed. I don't know what it was, but something told me to walk toward the bedroom because I could hear her talking and she was telling someone she loved them and missed them. And can we work this out? That was it for me. That's all I needed to hear. I then purposely made some noise so she could hear me. That's when she bolted out of the bedroom and rushed to hug me. I played along and hugged her back and asked her what was wrong. She lied to my face. She said she got reprimanded at work for something she didn't do. I knew she was lying. If you're wondering, I didn't sleep with her. I didn't try to initiate anything with her. The next morning, I had a free consultation with the divorce attorney. Then I went in and talked to him. I told him I wanted a divorce and told him why. Well, he proceeded to tell me Florida is a no-fault divorce state. He basically told me if I didn't like the color of my wife's underwear, I could file for divorce. But I told him my wife is cheating on me, and he said that didn't matter. He then asked me about finances. I told him I had my own marketing firm and my wife was a nurse. He asked about the house. I told him it was both of our names and asked if we had any joint bank accounts. I told him we had one savings account that we both shared and we had 2 credit cards together. I went ahead and filed for divorce that day. Well, everything came to a head about a month and a half later. My wife had gone to visit her parents and she was served with divorce papers while she was at her parents' house. She was in another county. I believe the process server had to be licensed in that county as well. I think I paid extra for it. My wife called me freaking out. I told her, you will find out when you get back why I filed for divorce. She was back by Sunday morning and I showed her why I filed for divorce. Her whole demeanor towards me changed. It usually happens like that sometimes. She started telling me I was neglecting her. I didn't even engage with her. I simply said, okay, and went into the spare bedroom. The next few weeks were horrible. We were strangers living in a house. At the divorce hearing, everything was split 50-50. She got half the savings, and the house is on the market as I write this December 8th, 2023. My ex-wife has since moved out. She got her own apartment. I was told by her AP's wife that those two are living together and her divorce hearing should be soon. Well, it didn't turn out well for my wife's AP. He lost a house and has to pay her $1,800 per month alimony for 4 years and $2,000 a month for child support for their 2 kids, which is only for about 2 years as her kids are almost 18 years old. Well, I guess in some cases, cheating can be expensive. A couple of weeks later, I heard that my ex-wife's AP had moved out, LOL, and moved in with another woman. When I found this out, I changed my number and blocked my ex-wife on everything. I deleted all of our Facebook photos. That's where I am right now. I am getting back into shape and trying to get my head together. Her betrayal broke me. If anyone's going through the same thing, take it one day at a time to heal. I was so embarrassed to share my story, but so many people are going through this very same thing, sometimes worse. Oh, one last thing. My ex-wife came to my office wanting to talk. I told her, don't ever come back to my office. I also told her I would get a restraining order if she came back. She walked away crying. You know, after narrating so many stories, what's wrong with just divorcing your spouse or ending a relationship before cheating? If you are not happy, just leave. Don't put your partner through all these mental gymnastics. Life is too short. If you don't want to be with this person, just get the fuck out. What's wrong with communicating? So many people find it hard to just communicate. You know, just open your mouth. You open your mouth when you started cheating. Why can't you open your mouth and talk to your partner? Until next time. I wonder how many of you remember this story. Now, this is something. This guy's wife, at 57 years old, who's been married for 27 years, wants an open relationship. Man, these stories are getting crazier and crazier as I narrate them. This woman should be trying to be a grandma instead of trying to opening up her marriage. Well, I never thought I would be telling anyone this, but my wife at 57 wants an open relationship, and I never saw it coming. My wife is a successful entrepreneur, comes from a wealthy family. She owns 2 coffee shops, 2 laundromats, and 3 homes. Seems like this woman has her stuff together. I am 59. We have 2 kids. They are on their own. They both are in different states. We live in Texas. I would say we had a very successful marriage. My wife has never once said anything about an open relationship, and our sex life was good. At least I thought so at our age. In the whole time we have been married, this so-called dead bedroom everyone speaks of never happened to us. There were no warning signs to my knowledge. She was never out of place, always contacted me when she was supposed to be somewhere, never had any issues with her phone or her hiding her phone. I am thinking he missed some subtle red flags. Sometimes red flags are not glaring, so they won't stand out. But one warning sign popped up out of nowhere. It wasn't evident at first. Her attire started to change. Some of her clothes were more fitting than usual. Yep, that's a red flag. He didn't miss that one. At 57, my wife looked really good. She ate healthy, she went to the gym, and she ran. So did I. We didn't work out together because our schedules were so different. I worked for a software company, and my wife was basically her own boss. We used to chat with each other throughout the day, but that stopped. Yep, any kind of change in communication, especially if it's drastic, that's a red flag. But one night when I came home from work, my wife wasn't home yet. I had noticed on the couch there were some of her clothes. It looked like some work clothes of hers. Suddenly she comes through the front door dressed like she just came from a party, and she didn't say anything to me about a party. I really didn't care, but the fact that she didn't tell me was not like her. She blurts out that the party was a last-minute thing. I said, okay. I didn't want to make a big stink about it, so I didn't pursue it. The next 3 weeks were normal. We did our date night, had some fun in the bedroom. Nothing was off or seemed out of place. My guess is she knows what she's doing. I think she is throwing him off by sleeping with him, making him think that nothing is wrong. About a week later, my wife didn't come home until about 2:14 a.m. Totally out of character for her. She didn't call me or text me, nothing. I flat out asked her what the hell happened tonight to where she couldn't call or text me. We got into a huge fight. She said she was out with some of her employees and friends from the coffee shop. Then she made this comment about controlling her. I said to her, "Really? That's what you think this is about?" I left it at that. The following 4 days, it was like we were strangers, and she never ever apologized for not letting me know where she was going to be. To my surprise, I kept my cool. I wanted to see if this would work itself out. Well, it didn't, and I found out why. A friend of mine happened to drive by one of my wife's homes that she owns, which is in a pretty nice neighborhood. He is a cable installer. He told me he saw my wife outside talking to a guy. I told him it was probably her tenant she was chatting with. He said, "Yeah, I get that, but man, they were so close, like they were almost kissing." I told him I thought he was being ridiculous. He said, "Okay, I just wanted to let you know." I thanked him and went on about my day. When my wife got home that night, I didn't say anything to her about what my friend said. I kept it to myself. The following days, I started to snoop a little. Started looking at the phone bill, didn't find anything suspicious, and drove by her coffee shops when I knew she would be there. She was mostly at her coffee shops, so my mini investigation didn't really turn up anything. So one night after work, I decided to go visit the 3 homes that my wife owns. I drove by the houses, nothing. Then I drove by the 2 coffee shops she owns. She wasn't there. My last stop was at the gym. Nope, not there either. When I got back home, she still wasn't home. It was after 11 p.m. by this time. I realized then my marriage had shifted. I was always taught, get proof first before confronting someone. With that said, I went online to do some research. I researched trackers, wouldn't really prove anything, maybe a voice-activated recorder, possibly. So I ordered 2 voice-activated recorders, and I hired a private investigator. I really don't think voice notes were enough by themselves to prove she was doing something she wasn't supposed to be doing. When I got the recorders, I waited until she was asleep. I placed one under the front passenger seat and one recorder in our bedroom. In case she was home before I was, the recorders would pick up any conversations she was having. When I met the private investigator, I told him I didn't have any proof she was doing anything, except that her attire had shifted a little and she stopped communicating with me about her whereabouts. I didn't bring up the conversation about my friend telling me my wife was a little too close to her tenant. I didn't think it would have amounted to anything. I gave the investigator the addresses to all of her tenants, their names, the address of the laundromats, and the 2 coffee shops. The investigator got started the next day, but before the private investigator came back with proof, the voice-activated recorder in her car recorded a devastating conversation that my wife had with a friend of hers who lives a few hours away. She told her friend that she wanted to open up our marriage. She wanted to experience being with other men. She loved the attention she was getting. Then another bombshell was dropped. She told her friend that she had 2 one-night stands 2 years ago in her coffee shop after everyone left. No, that's nasty. What a trifling woman. That was devastating to listen to. 1 week later, the private investigator asked me to meet him. I went to his office after work. He proceeded to show me my wife kissing a guy who wasn't her tenant, but someone else. He followed her. What she did was, it was dark. She parked her car a little ways down from his house. She walked to his house. He greeted her and they started kissing. But he also noticed another woman and man in the house before he closed the door behind him. I was devastated. The private investigator handed me a business card of a divorce attorney. He told me to call her. He said she was good. The next morning, I went to see her, started the divorce process. When my wife went to work, I moved out of the house, only taking the bare minimum until the divorce hearing. I didn't want to be near her. I ended up staying at my brother's place, who was shocked beyond belief. When my wife realized I had moved out, she blew up my phone. Then her call stopped. She showed up at my brother's place asking what's wrong. I told her these exact words: "You need to get the fuck out of my face before I do something I regret." My brother grabbed me and told her to leave. Well, thank goodness his brother was there. You guys should have seen her face. About a month later, she was served with divorce papers. 3 weeks after that, we had the divorce hearing. I ended up getting $3,000 per month in alimony for 10 years and one of the rental homes she owned. Let it be known, I didn't ask for alimony. My attorney pushed me for it. She said if she was the one being cheated on, you can bet she would have definitely asked for alimony. Yep, she's probably right. Tony, I appreciate you sharing my story, but I do have a confession to make. I have consumed your content for about a year. I thought some of your stories were BS until I got that phone call from my friend. I don't know, but that phone call gave me a suspicious feeling, only because by then my wife was acting a little weird. Again, thank you. Well, I don't really have anything negative to say, but try to listen to your gut and pay attention to those not so glaring red flags before they become glaring red flags. This is an interesting story revolving around changing internet service providers and unknown devices connecting to the network. This story also has an update. He says, a while back, we switched internet providers and our new modem came with an app to manage the network and connections. It was unreal how many devices we had connected to the Wi-Fi. I was playing in the app one night and noticed an Android device phone, but we both have Apple devices. Wow, this man was aware of every device on his network. At first, I thought someone had guessed our Wi-Fi password, so I changed the password, but it came back a few days later. I was working from home one day and noticed the Android phone disappeared when my wife Cindy went to work. Uh-oh. When she got home that evening, the Android device returned. I finally got a chance to look through her car and later her purse, but came up empty. That night, while she was in the shower, I went through her gym bag and finally found it tucked away in her briefcase. I didn't have time to try and look through it, so I put it back. The next time she went to the gym, I went to look through it, but it was gone. The next night, I found it again in the briefcase. This time, I took it and tried to unlock it, but none of her old passwords would work. I decided to take the phone to a repair place down the street to see if they could unlock it. I had to confess to the tech the real reason for wanting to get into the phone, as I am a terrible liar. He felt sorry for me, I guess, and an hour later he called me and said he was finished. He backed everything up to a thumb drive that I read when I got back home. I saw all the pictures and texts between her and two different guys over the last 9 months, including graphic discussions about their hookups. 6 years of marriage up in smoke. I thought I was having a heart attack, couldn't breathe, and just sat there at the computer staring at it all. I got better after an hour and guessed it was just a panic attack. I probably would have had a panic attack too, but probably more angry. When Cindy got home, she was very anxious. She wandered around the house, obviously looking for her phone. I think she realized she might be in trouble and her cheating cover is blown. I asked if she was okay, and she said she lost some papers from work and needed to find them. I offered to help, but she said she would find them. I got her back in the kitchen and pulled the burner phone out, asking if this what she was looking for. That was a good move by OP. There was that deer in the headlights look on her face and panic starting to rise. I said there could be only one reason why she would have a second phone in her briefcase. I asked if she was cheating on me, which she denied. Of course she's going to deny it. Most people who are cheating won't come right out and be so forthcoming. You can forget that. I said, fine, then give me the password so I can see for myself what is on it. She tried to turn it around on me, saying that I was invading her privacy. They always do that. I handed her back the phone and said her response just proved my suspicions. I sat down on the sofa and felt a hot flash again and started to cry a little. When she saw the tears, she softened and said it was only once, and she felt guilty about it and cut things off. I opened up the file on my tablet and handed it to her, asking, only once? She kept saying she was sorry, that it wasn't my fault, and that she wanted us to stay together. I said I needed some space to think, and we needed to separate while I decide how to move forward. She disagreed and said we needed to talk it out. What? For what? There was nothing to talk about. You cheated twice. You're done in my book. So I started asking questions. Was he married? Was it a coworker? How did they meet? Where did they hook up? What kind of sex did they have? What did she do with them that she hasn't done with me? Were they bigger than me? Did she use protection? She finally said enough. She couldn't do this anymore. She asked how long I had known. I said I found the phone a week ago, but didn't see what was on it until today. I said I was still in shock and needed time to process it all. She agreed to spend the rest of the week at her sister's house, and we would talk more this weekend. She wants to schedule a session with the marriage counselor next week, and I agreed to that. I didn't tell her I would be consulting an attorney tomorrow to get an idea of my options. Last Christmas, her sister got a divorce after finding out her husband was having an affair. There were several family discussions about cheating at her parents' house and how low her ex-brother-in-law was for betraying his wife. I can't imagine what was going through her mind sitting there being just as guilty. The thought of leaving her kills me, but I don't think I could forgive her or ever trust her again. Nope, you won't. She has cheated twice already. Why would you give her a third opportunity? We had been talking about kids, but I am so glad we were still waiting. New info. First, my to-do list. Attorney. I showed my text collection to my attorney, and he is proceeding with the filings. He gave me a worksheet on things I need to do in the meantime. The doctor. All tests came back negative. First, AP's wife. I met with her this afternoon and gave her hard copies and a thumb drive. I showed her the pictures they had traded. She is not going to confront him with it until he is served. Cindy's sister, not the one she is staying with, but the one who just divorced her cheating husband. I met with her tonight and showed her my greatest hits, the more damning text, and let her see what her sister had sent her APs. She was angry and at the same time a little sad. She apologized to me and said she had no idea what her sister had been up to. If she had known, she would have told me. I am sure I will hear about her sister when Cindy comes to the house tomorrow to get some of her things. She wants to sit down and talk, probably about how we are going to move forward. This may be my last entry here on this thread. I may post a separate update later if needed. Here is a small update. He says my ex Cindy continues to play the pick-me dance. She finally moved into a studio apartment and out of her sister's place. I went to 3 sessions of couples counseling. I wanted her to admit why she cheated, but all she wanted to do was insist that we get back together. It was a waste of time and money, but a necessary evil. No, it wasn't. You called it out. You said it was a waste of time and money, and that it was. Most of our friends have sided with me, but she had a few diehard friends that took her side. I remember doing a video about that, saying that no matter what kind of concrete proof you have, they still may think you're the bad guy, no matter what. And it happens like that sometimes. But you have to persevere and just keep moving. They were surprised, I think, when the rest of our group cut ties with them. I have a good therapist that I have been seeing. All the divorce papers have been signed and filed and are awaiting signing by the judge. We are less than 12 days away from the divorce being final. I have had a couple of dinner dates with 2 women from my friend group who have expressed a romantic interest in dating me. At least one of them appreciates that I am waiting until my divorce is final before pursuing any romantic dates. Well, I gotta be honest. I almost thought he was going to simp out when he agreed to marriage counseling, but he didn't. Kudos for him for going ahead with the divorce. As I have said in the first video back on the channel, there are 2 channels probably ran by the same person who took videos from my channel. Didn't even change the thumbnails, even with my face on them. They also use the same backgrounds that I filmed with my phone and camera, even the beach here in Florida, and one video with me going over the Skyway Bridge, coming from and going to Tampa. I will leave a pinned comment with the links to those channels that stole the videos. Until next time. This is why so many people tell you not to deal with the cheater. It's just not worth the time and effort taking them back, knowing the possibility is greater with them cheating on you again. The marriage issues really started to get bad this past March. We are young and had many of the normal issues. We started discussing a separation, and then a couple of weeks later, I found out about the infidelity. She probably already had someone in the hot seat by the time he found out. She had a friend that gave me bad vibes from the start. She was texting him a couple of months after we got married 2 years ago, and I asked what his deal was. She told me this guy's story. She basically just said he has a history of sleeping with married women, but you have nothing to worry about. Really? Didn't I just do a video about women in relationships that have these so-called male friends? I think I did. I said I really feel uncomfortable with you being friends with him, and she blocked him. Fast forward to this April. We had a big fight one day, and I told her how unhappy I was. 2 days after that, she went to visit our families. My parents let her borrow a car to go away with her friends for a night. Before she left for this trip, she used my credit card to get her nails done and buy new shoes. I trusted her and thought nothing of it, even though she turned off her location sharing with my mother before she left. She turned off her location sharing? So what does that tell you guys? I handed her phone one morning, and there was a text from Steve that said, "Good morning, my love." We had already been discussing separating at that point. I asked her if she was seeing other people, and she told me that she wasn't. She gave me her blessing to go through her phone if I didn't believe her. I was on a business trip while she was on this trip. I got back a few days after her and found a box of condoms in a hamper. She told me I was crazy for thinking she would cheat and that she got the condoms for me. Man, eject. I believed her. 2 days later, on my 25th birthday, I went through her phone. There were all the sexual messages you would expect. She also sent him pictures of wedding rings. She was discussing having a baby with him. Damn. She sent him videos of my daughter kicking while she was pregnant. She told him all about my daughter and then said, "You're going to be a great dad." Well, if he's the dad, then yeah, but if he's not the dad, a stepdad, why would he want to do that if he's not the father? But he won't know that yet. I confronted her and she sort of admitted to it. I called their lawyer that day to start the divorce process. Okay. A couple of days later, I got a phone call from my father. He got unpaid toll booths from the day my wife borrowed the car. She said she was going to Vermont with her friends, but she was actually driving to New York where the guy she was texting with lived. I confronted her and she once again said I was crazy for thinking she would do something like that. See, this is what gets me. Don't confront her anymore. You already filed for divorce. Move on. It doesn't look like she is going to change. I asked her for pictures from the trip that would prove her innocence. She said she didn't have them. I had a very strong feeling she was lying, but we had already been discussing divorce, so it didn't really matter. She moved back in with her parents a few days later, 12 hours away from where I live. In the meantime, she just started texting this guy right in front of me and telling me how great he is going to treat my daughter, while also telling me she wants to work things out with me. About 5 hours after leaving, she called me saying she wanted me back. They always do that. I said no. She called me back saying the same thing the next day. I said that I was open to it, but if she wanted that, she had to stop seeing other people. Why are you even entertaining her? She told me, well, I don't want to hurt his feelings. I hung up after that. Good move. She then went running around with her AP for a few months, but made sure that my family members would see it on social media. I went to visit my daughter on the 4th of July, and she said she wanted to talk about reconciling. I sent her some old pictures of us, sort of an attempt to talk. She told me to move on. Me personally, I hate this merry-go-round shit. I guess I can't stand it. In mid-July, we actually began to attempt to reconcile. I once again told her she had to stop seeing the affair partner. She told me she ended it then. I went to visit my daughter, and the three of us went away together for a few nights. Lo and behold, the affair partner was still texting her. Well, buddy, you deserved it. I was rooting for you when you started the divorce process. Your actions are not starting to match up. She eventually ended it that week, but after that, more and more details began to come out. After reconciling, more and more information came out. Reconciling? I guess he said, fuck the divorce. Crazy. She continued to lie about the night she took my parents' car until today. She finally admitted to using my parents' car to cheat on me after months of lying and gaslighting me. I also found out that she had been sending the AP money I had been giving her to take care of my daughter. Wow, I didn't see this coming, but I am not surprised. Less than a week after us separating, she brought our daughter to meet her AP and brought her to hang out with AP multiple times, directly breaking a co-parenting boundary I set regarding introducing her to new significant others. There were texts where the AP referred to my daughter as his. This is crazy. This sounds like a 𝗦𝘁cie𝗿𝘆 episode. She told me she didn't know that the AP would be at the places she brought our daughter, but she had text on her phone saying it was planned. She also drove to New York to see the AP the weekend before we officially reconciled, when we were actively discussing working things out, and she told me it was over. See, this is the definition of insanity. You guys know it's inevitable that they will break up again, but I always say, outside of YouTube, most men act this way, clearly being cheated on, but they want to fix it. Don't ever fix anything with a serial cheater, or a cheater in general. That weekend, she told me she was going away with friends for her birthday. I begged my mother, who was having severe migraines, to watch our daughter so she could have a fun weekend with her friends, but she was actually having one last weekend with the AP. Am I crazy for trying to work this out? I want my family together, and I want to be in my daughter's life regularly, but I feel like this might be too much to work through. No, it's easy. Get rid of your wife and co-parent. There's your solution. My family says I should take her back, but I don't know if I can ever trust her again after all this. Your family is not sleeping with her. Your family is not dating her, and your family is not married to her. Any advice is greatly appreciated. This was a crazy story. Another thing, a lot of people have been asking me what happened to all my videos. Well, if you paid attention, I have been leaving a pinned comment about 3 channels who stole videos from me. This has been happening for over a year. One of the channels even named his channel Tony's Stories. These channels didn't even change the thumbnails with my face on them. They even used background footage here in Florida where I live, and even used footage of me going over the Skyway Bridge to and from Tampa. So from now on, all my videos will have my face in them and my moving watermark. Thanks for tuning in. Until next time. This story is about 2 weeks old, but as most of you have seen, I turned the channel over to a family member who rebranded it, but he gave up quickly when he didn't get the views he expected to get. So he turned the channel back over to me, and I am back narrating videos. Unfortunately, you will not get beach scenes, at least not for a while. I recently found another channel that took 37 of the videos from the channel, didn't even change the thumbnails, and tried to blend the backgrounds that I have in my videos here in Florida that I took with my camera by reducing the opacity. Some people are just fucking thieves. So now it's just my face telling the story with a moving watermark. So when I find the videos that are taken from my channel, I can strike them with ease. So let's get into this story. He says, my wife was cheating on me for about 3 years, and I found out by going through her purse, and I found matches from a high-end hotel. My wife and I have been married for 9 years. We have 1 daughter. I got a DNA test to prove she was mine. Smart man. He is a step ahead of most men who are in the same situation. My wife works for the Orange County Sheriff's Department as a clerk. She has had this job for about 5 years. Before that, she was a manager at a department store. My wife has a few girlfriends she hangs out with, and they usually do happy hour at least once a week. I own a lawn care service here in Florida. We pretty much cut grass most months out of the year. I can vouch for that. Even when it's cold here in Florida, which is rare, you see people cutting grass. Well, one night when my wife asked me to get a credit card out of her purse because she was buying something from Amazon, I happened to catch a glimpse of some matches in her purse from a high-end hotel. I thought to myself, why is there matches in her purse? She doesn't smoke. I don't know if matches in someone's purse is a major red flag, but it could be if the person doesn't smoke or has a hidden smoking habit her spouse doesn't know about. I didn't question her about it, just made a mental note and the name of the hotel that was imprinted on the matches. Fast forward about 2 weeks, and my wife said she and her friends were going to a bar that I knew of. Well, I was glad she was going out. It gave me a chance to call the number that was on the matches. I remembered the number that was on the matches and called it. When I called the number, a guy answered the phone. We went round and round, and eventually he told me my wife and him were seeing each other, and he didn't want to tell me anything else, but he did. I asked him what would he do in my situation, and he told me everything. He told me how long they've been seeing each other, about 3 years on and off. He told me how they met, disclosed that they met from a dating app at first. Then one day when she was supposed to be at work, she got a hotel, hence the matches. Wow, maybe her AP is a stand-up guy. But the part that got me was when they met on the dating site, she told him she was going through a divorce and she wasn't wearing her wedding ring. After our conversation, he vowed to stop seeing her. He didn't know she was married and wanted no part of it. I also asked her AP not to say anything to her about our conversation, and he said he wouldn't. My wife got home about midnight, and she seemed a little upset, or maybe even crying, but I didn't say anything or try to comfort her. I'm assuming that her AP told her that it was over is why she may have seemed upset or maybe even crying. On my way to work the following morning, I called a few divorce attorneys in the area and made an appointment to see one for a free consultation. Florida is a no-fault state, so it was no need for me to jump through any more hoops to prove she was cheating. I didn't care about alimony, but I wanted my lawyer to try and fight for me not to pay any, and Governor DeSantis just signed away forever alimony. But in Florida, the attorney told me anything over 7 years, she could make a valid alimony claim. We went over finances, and I was willing to split the savings we have together and the house when it sells. I filed for divorce that day for irreconcilable differences. I told her when we first got together, cheating was a deal breaker for me. About a month and a half later, my wife was served with divorce papers at her job, and she didn't even call, nothing. My guess is, what would she say? Some women will call and ask what the hell is going on. Some women won't. My wife and I got home at the same time, and all she said to me was she would be out of the house by the end of the week. She didn't say anything about alimony, but she did say, I will fight you for custody of our daughter. She is 4 years old. At the divorce hearing, we split the savings 50-50, the equity in the house when it sells, which wasn't much. We've owned the house about 10 years, and we've owned it almost as long as we have been together. Unfortunately, I had to pay alimony for a year in the amount of $400 per month. She tried to get more, but the judge cited that she was getting half of the savings and half of the equity in the home, and she had a job of her own. Actually, I think he made out okay. That's a drop in the bucket for him. He's probably making close to $10,000 per month with his lawn business. So yeah, I think he made out pretty good. We ended up with 50-50 custody of our daughter. I couldn't get full custody of my daughter. The judge didn't see any evidence that she didn't have the child's best interest at heart. About a month after the divorce, I put the house up for sale. It took about another 2 months to sell, and there was about $23,000 in equity that we split. Fast forward another 3 weeks, and I found out that my ex-wife was bad-mouthing me to my friends and family, saying I was abusive, that I cheated on her, is why we divorced. Now see, in this instance, having some type of proof besides the matches would have been worthwhile to defend yourself. But to my surprise, most of my friends and family didn't believe her. That happens when a lot of people know your character. They've been around you a long time. As most of my friends told me, they just didn't believe what she was telling them based on our interactions and hanging out with us. In some cases, your friends and family, just like I said, they know better. They don't need to see anything else. They know you are not the monster your ex is claiming you to be. We are both in our early 30s. I forgot to do some financial cleaning. I removed my ex-wife as beneficiary from my life insurance policy, and I removed her from my credit cards. He should have done that in the beginning. Fast forward 3 months, my wife called me from the emergency room and asked me to come pick up my daughter. Now, mind you, I am thrown for a loop as to why this was all happening. Apparently, her new boyfriend beat her up in front of my daughter. The only thing I told her was she needed to fix this, or I would fight her for full custody of our daughter. She eventually stopped seeing him and apparently didn't have any guys over when she had our daughter. Right now, I am contemplating on taking her back to court for full custody, but I am going to wait to see how this plays out. My ex-wife has been trying to slide back into my life, and I told her to stop wasting her time. It will never happen. We have a daughter together, and that's it. That's as far as our relationship will go. If I have any other updates, I will be sure to let Tony know. My wife was caught cheating with 3 men. She was even caught cheating with one of them at a hotel. I am 48 and my wife is 45. I own a real estate company that my dad passed down to me. My wife is a stay-at-home wife, but works part-time at a salon. We don't have kids together, but she does have one son from a previous marriage who lives independently with a few roommates. According to my wife, the reason why she left her husband was because he cheated on her and he was an abusive alcoholic. I wouldn't say our relationship was terrible. I worked long hours for the business, but my business was flexible. So every time I wanted to take off, I did, and I had another employee take over for a couple of days while I made time to spend with my wife. Well, that wasn't enough. Apparently, she started complaining a little more. Not a lot, but enough to get my attention. This is crazy. This man is doing what he can to provide for her, and it's not enough. It's common in these stories. I noticed that she was starting to hang out a little more with her girlfriends. She would cancel our plans and hang out with them, even when we had made plans in advance. That's disrespectful. I didn't make a big fuss about it, and I just figured she was going through a phase. But she wasn't going through a phase, she was cheating on me, and I didn't even know it. She didn't exhibit a lot of red flags, she probably did, and I just missed them. But one thing that stood out was that she started to become less affectionate towards me. When we sat on the couch and watched a movie, she would be right next to me, touching me somehow in some way. But she would sit on the other side of the couch with her knees in her chest. I noticed it a couple of times, but I didn't say anything. She goes from sitting next to you all the time to the other side of the couch. Bells should be going off in your head. Now that's drastic. I learned over the years to be observant and pay attention. I made notes about her behavior. I must have missed something along the way. One day I got home a little after 8 p.m. and my wife wasn't home, which was odd. She wasn't scheduled to work. She didn't call me or communicate with me about anything. My wife didn't get home until 1:30 a.m. and I didn't even confront her about it. I made a mental note. The next morning, I got up and went to work. She was still asleep and I didn't wake her up. About 3 hours later, she texted me saying she loves me and hopes I have a good day. I don't know why, but I did not respond to her text. I always responded to my wife, but this time I didn't. When I got home that night, she asked me why I didn't respond to her. I told her I was going to, but I got interrupted at work and spaced it out. She had made dinner for us and we watched a movie, but she sat on the other side of the couch again. But it was weird this time because after we had dinner, we watched a movie and we ended up being intimate that night, and we hadn't had sex in 3 weeks. Fast forward a few days, I got home and decided to check the mail. What surprised me was a postcard from a bank that said, "Welcome new member." I thought, what the hell? I didn't open a new bank account, but wait, it had my wife's name on it. I said nothing when I got inside the house and just put the mail on the kitchen counter. After that, I started to dig a little. I didn't have access to her new account, but I wanted to know why she opened a new bank account. So, when she said she would hang out with her girlfriends, I looked at the computer we shared and the iPad she had. I must have dug for about 3 days. I found nothing on our computer, and her browsing history was completely clean. If her browser history was that clean, she was covering her tracks. She never received any more correspondence from the bank, so I assumed she probably set up paperless delivery. Many people would say, hey, just ask her about it. No, I needed to dig first before I accuse her of anything, as I was taught. We have been married for 11 years, and she has never displayed this type of behavior, and we have never gone that long without being intimate. To me, I needed to get to the bottom of it. Everything came to a head one morning when she went out with her girlfriends and didn't come home until almost 7 a.m. She left the house at 9 p.m. the night before and was gone for almost 12 hours without contacting me. That's crazy. You have a husband at home and you don't come home until the next morning and not a word for 12 hours? Yeah, you know what's up with that. I called and called, no text, no nothing. That incident was a turning point for me. We got into a huge fight over it, and she claimed I was being possessive and controlling because I was trying to see where she was and to make sure she was okay. Well, what husband or boyfriend would not want to make sure his woman is okay? The next few days in our house was like we were strangers, but I was okay with that. While at work one day, I researched private investigators. The last incident was the second time she came home way too late for my taste. I had a phone consultation with the investigator. I told him the only thing I have is her coming home late on 2 occasions and not contacting me at all on either occasion. Later that day, I met the investigator at his office. I gave him pictures of her, what kind of car she drove, her part-time job at the salon, and some of the women she hung out with. The investigator said he would get right on it. It took the investigator almost a month to put everything together, and she was cheating with 3 men. She met them all from dating sites and was even caught being intimate inside one of the guys' cars in the hotel parking lot. We live in New York, which still allows fault-based divorces. I would try my best not to pay alimony, but that would be hard since I made almost triple what she makes. Once the private investigator gave me the evidence that my wife was cheating, I went straight to a divorce lawyer to weigh my options and filed for divorce. Now, these private investigators are expensive, but they will save you tons of money in the long run. But in my opinion, they might be useless in no-fault divorce states. Once the divorce attorney reviewed the evidence, he simply said that I had a strong case for an at-fault divorce, but my wife would probably still get something from the divorce even when she was the cause of the divorce. That statement burned me from the inside. My wife cheats on me, and still gets paid. It's common, it happens all the time. I had my lawyer file for divorce the day I went to see him. When I got home that day, my wife wasn't home, and she left a note on the kitchen counter saying she was spending the night with one of her girlfriends. At this point, I didn't care. I didn't call her or reach out to her. I took that opportunity to research home prices. This house was going up for sale and was in my name only. About 6 weeks later, my wife was served with divorce papers at her part-time job, which was a total shock to her. She didn't even see it coming, but to my surprise, she only sent one text, and it said, "Okay, see you in court." Well, the day she was served, she left the house, packed up most of her things, and left. Most of the furniture was still there. About 2 months later, the divorce hearing arrives. She tried to get alimony for $3,000 a month, but after the judge saw the evidence from the private investigator, she didn't give her alimony. She did give her 30% of the proceeds of the house when it was sold, and I didn't care about that. I was prepared for that. After the divorce, I ratted her out to her family and friends and told them this is why I divorced my wife. Some of her friends apologized to me because my wife had spun this tale that I was a bad guy and that I was mistreating her. Once they saw proof that my wife cheated on me with these men, everyone's perception of me changed. Fast forward a few weeks, I contacted my cellular provider and changed my number, and I never wanted to see or hear from her again. Last I heard, she was living with one of the men she cheated with. All of the men she cheated with were single, and none of them had wives. Oh, I forgot to mention, she was using the money I was giving her for GP for the dating sites. Yeah, well, I guess she got what she wanted. But in cases like this, you know, when you're going through a divorce, you got to be careful if you're cheating, because financial transparency. If the judge sees that you've used the money that was given to you by your spouse and you used it to cheat on your spouse, you may have to pay that money back. Anyway, guys, thanks for tuning in. Until next time.